my friends. I miss you. I hope you all are well. Today I have for you a short little video about deviance. I wanted to talk to you about Merton's strain theory. In your book it calls it structural strain theory. Actually, another name that you'll hear it called, if you take like a criminology class, you might hear it called goal means gap theory. I'll explain a little bit why it's sometimes called goal means gap, but we're going to talk about it real briefly. I'm going to draw you a little picture. We're here in my dining room. This is where I had the best lighting, so we're going to give this a try. Thanks for hanging in with me, and I really do hope you're all well. Message me, let me know how you're doing, because I really do miss seeing you guys. Okay, so Merton and strain theory. Merton was a functionalist. So remember, functionalists in sociology think that the whole world kind of fits together and functions like an organism or like a living body. And that includes deviance. Functionalists say, actually Durkheim even said that deviance is good in society, that it's functional. Merton also says that deviance plays its part in society. He describes it through this thing called a typology. Your book has a picture of a typology, of Merton's typology, but it's a little confusing to me. So that's why I thought I would draw an example for you that maybe would make it a little clearer, a little easier to understand. Typology, I should say, is really just fancy academic speak for chart with words. So when you hear the word typology, don't feel like it's so hard or it's too rough or something like that. It's just chart with words. So that's what we're going to make here, okay? And Merton's typology starts with two different parts. The first part is the means. So we'll call that on here, we'll just write means. Merton, he actually called that institutional means, and what he meant by institutional means was the sort of generally accepted ways to get things in society. So like going to college is a really good way to get the things you want in life. Having a job is a good way to get the things you want in life. Having a 9-to-5, starting a business, any really like productive, acceptable way to get things in society is institutional means. Okay, so that's the first part. The second part of Merton's typology is the goals. So on my little chart here, I'm just going to call that goals, okay? Now, goals is the good stuff that we're kind of striving for. We all know what goals are, right? Now, not everybody has the same goals. So, for example, someday I'd like to have just a beautiful garden in my backyard. Probably some of you don't share that goal, but it is a pretty common goal for like a 40-year-old woman to want a garden, right? So it's sort of the generally accepted goals for most people in society. Things like a house, a car, technology, vacations, getting outside at this point would be goals, okay? And we do kind of share, even though we might have our own little special goals, we do kind of share most of the society's goals together, right? Like we all kind of want very similar things out of life, okay? Now, Merton said that there are different types of people based on their relationship to institutional means and society's goals. The first one is a conformist. So let's put that over here. And a conformist, they accept the means and they also accept the goal. Okay, so that's conformity. If you accept the means, so you have a 9-to-5, you're going to college, you're working really hard, that's accepting institutional means, and you also accept the goals. So you're saving up for that sweet car, or you want the new iPhone, or whatever it might be that you're kind of striving towards. That's conformity, according to Merton. Now, this is the only type in Merton's typology that is not deviant. So conforming, obviously, isn't deviant. Now we'll start on the deviant types in Merton's typology. The first one is innovator. innovator, they reject the means. So they don't want to get a 9 to 5. They don't want to have a cubicle. They don't want to do all of that. But they still accept the goals. So they still want a nice house and a nice car and all of that. They just don't want to do it the traditional way. In D2L, I created a discussion board for us to talk about Merton. And what I want you to do is I want you to give me a pop culture example for each of the types that we're going to discuss here. I gave you an example for innovator, and I used the example of Walter White in Breaking Bad. Walter White in Breaking Bad, he is an innovator. He does not accept, he rejects the means, right? Cooking meth, not an institutional means. But he still wants the goal. He still wants a house. He wants his wife to be okay. That's sort of the whole plot line of the series, is that Walter White is rejecting institutional means but still accepting society's goals. In pop culture, we love these sort of stories. So this one shouldn't be hard for you to think of an example. These are usually really romantical type series or films that have this like guy that wants the good things, but he can't get it, so he does something bad, but he's actually a good guy. Like, we love this sort of stuff. Okay, so what's the next type? The next one is ritualist. The ritualist is sort of the flip of the innovator. So the ritualists, they accept the means. So they're going to work, they have a job, they went to college, they did all the things they're supposed to do, but they reject the goals. Usually, if you actually know somebody who is a ritualist in your everyday life, these people are kind of frustrating to us because they like do the things you're supposed to do, but then they screw up on the goals part, and the goals part's the good stuff, right? So if you know somebody like this, you're usually pretty frustrated with them. Like, they're messing up, and it's usually like, oh, it's irritating because they could just be conformist if they would stop messing up the good stuff. My husband has a coworker who is a ritualist. He goes to work every day. He's never late. He never misses. They like have to force him to go on vacation. But he's also homeless, doesn't have a partner, lives in his car, like just... He like works so hard. He never misses. He never calls off. But then he just like has a kind of, I think, a crummy life, right? To not have any family, not have a partner, not have a place to call home. He's a ritualist. A lot of times things like addiction lead people to become ritualists. Mental health problems can be associated with ritualism, where you're really good at the means, like you like that stability of your job, but you just can't enjoy the good things in life. Okay, that's the ritualist. I'll be excited to hear your ideas of pop culture examples of ritualists. The next one is called retreatist. The retreatist rejects both the means and the goal. You see why sometimes this is called goal means gap? Because that's kind of what it's all about. So the retreatists, they reject both the means and the goal. The classic example for sociologists for this person is somebody who's chronically homeless. So they don't have a job, they're not going to get a job, they don't want a job, but that's okay because they also don't want a home, they don't want a car, they've kind of just resigned themselves to being homeless. That would be a retreatist. These people also pretty frustrating, right? Because think of all the talk that we've put into trying to understand society, and these people are just not having it. They're not participating. They're usually pretty frustrating, and it's hard to motivate them because they're not doing the means And they're not interested in society's goals. I should say here that we should be careful about using the homeless as an example of retreatists, because a lot of homeless people would love to have a job and they would love to get a home, have a car, all of those things. So we have to be really careful. I'm only speaking specifically about somebody who has really given up, resigned themselves to homelessness, and is not striving to participate in society in a conforming way. Okay, one more in our typology. We're doing great, huh? Okay, the last one is rebellion. Rebellion's a little tricky, okay? Because the rebellion person, they reject both the means and the goals, right? So I'm gonna put that up here small. Ooh, reject. But the important part about the rebellion type is that they replace it with something that Merton said is productive. Okay. Now what that productive is, that's a whole source of fighting and all this. But that's what Merton said, is that the rebellion, they reject, but they replace it with something productive. So I'm going to write replace here. A really good sociological example of a rebellion type is like a hippie commune. That would be rebellion. Okay, so if you live in a hippie commune, you're not working a 9 to 5, you're not clocking in and clocking out, right? But you are being productive. Maybe you're growing your own produce, or you're building sustainable structures or something like that. And your goals are not like most people. So like, you don't want that hot new Ferrari, or you don't want a 3,000 square foot house or something like that, right? You want to live maybe sustainably, that's your goal, or to protect the environment might be your goal. And so Merton would say that that would be a rebellion, because you're not following society's means and goals. However, you're replacing them with something productive, right? Okay, that's Merton. Now, one thing that we should talk about before I close it out here is that Merton does have some problems. And the biggest one is white-collar crime. Okay, so let's imagine we were trying to fit a white-collar criminal into our little fancy typology here. I'll zoom in to, I can't tell if you'll be able to see it or not. If we were trying to fit white-collar crime into our typology, we actually would probably call it conformity, right? Because most white-collar crimes, they have a job, they have a 9 to 5, they're doing institutional means, and they also, incidentally, have the goals. They have a house, they have a car, they have all the nice things in life, right? So Merton kind of says that white-collar crime is conformity, I guess? I don't think we want a theory of deviance or crime that just leaves out a whole bunch of crime. So that's a pretty big problem with Merton. That being said, Merton is one of the most popular theories of criminal behavior. And you'll definitely, if you take a criminology class, or if you come see me again and take my deviance class, we'll talk more about Merton. I hope you've enjoyed this little mini lecture in my dining room. I'm going to grab my phone and zoom in on the chart there for you. And I really look forward to hearing your ideas in the discussion room on D2L. I want one example for each of the types. So give me a pop culture example of a ritualist, a retreatist, a rebellion, and an innovator, okay? All of those. See you soon. Take care. Hugs. Bye.